That mountain. I'm driving right now. I'm in British Columbia, and these mountains are everywhere. They're left, right, back, forth, in the front, in the back, everywhere. But every so often, you go around a corner, and there's this huge mountain right in front of you that you didn't see a minute ago, and it's just absolutely majestic, and it's it's amazing, and it's incredible. There's another one. See, there's a big one with snow on the top. I don't know if you can make that out, but those ones are really high up there. Those mountains. Behind the green stuff, there's big mountains with snow on them. And there, we're gonna turn the corner. We're gonna see another big one here. They're just everywhere. Oh, behind that green mountain, there's another peak with snow on it that's even higher up than this one, and the green one's blocking the other one that's behind it, and it's just absolutely extraordinary to come out here in British Columbia. We've got a world-class Rocky Mountain scenery, and it just goes on, because today I drove from Golden, British Columbia, which is up north on the Trans-Canada Highway, and then I drove south for half the day, and the whole way there and up and down, left and right, it's just mountains everywhere you look. It doesn't end. Although it's going to be probably ending within a couple of hours, because I'm heading east back towards Alberta now. I'm going to be at the border probably in 20 or 30 minutes at the border to go into Alberta. But in British Columbia, it's just mountains everywhere. See, there's that big peak up there. You see that big peak? Wow, that's a nice one. That's a really big one up there. Can you see that? Wow. And I decided to make a video because I'm taking pictures, and it's not doing it any justice whatsoever. The pictures don't even make it look anywhere near as good as it really does. And wow, that's a really big one there. That's massive. It's higher when being in the car here. It looks a lot more than if I look at my camera screen. It doesn't look as high, but in person, wow, it's massive. Welcome to Alberta. There it is. Okay, I thought it would be 20 minutes or so, but hey, we just crossed the border. Okay, so the mountains start at the western side of Alberta, all the way through British Columbia, BC. And before that, Alberta is all flatland, plains, the plains of Alberta. But the mountains actually start in Alberta and continue on all the way to the west coast of BC. Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one. And yesterday I was up in Banff, and that's always worth taking a drive. Well, as you're driving into Banff, Alberta, the scenery is just exhilarating. When you first start to see those mountains, it really takes your breath away. And there's another big one over here. Like, they're just everywhere. You can see some off in the distance there. There's another big tall one over there. It just doesn't end, like I was saying. It goes on and on, and they're all just as good as the next one. And it's fascinating, and it never gets old. It's like the best show on earth. Best show on earth. Big mountain. They just keep coming. And I was all day long, today and yesterday, it's just mountain after mountain. And you always think, wow, that's got to be the biggest, nicest one. But each one surpasses the next, it seems. So now we're in Alberta. I just stopped in a town. Wow, look at that. Look at that. That's a big one over there too, a tall one. I was stopped in this town called Fernie, Fernie, and that's in British Columbia. Mountains upon mountains. And that's a really nice town. It kind of resembles Banff, but it's not as commercially touristic. And because Banff is really tourism oriented, and it's, I mean, you got to pay $66 just to park your car on the street in Banff. You need a pass, a parking pass for it. And see, there's another row of big mountains that are coming up off in the distance. To the left, straight left. I don't know if you can see those ones, but it just goes on and on. So Fernie is a lot like Banff because it's nested right in the mountains. And although it's not like as well known as Banff, Banff, Canmore, and Lake Louise are all kind of situated in the same area, which is really close to the BC border, but it's much more north than where I am now. I'm in southern BC. In fact, the USA border is not far from here. I can go into the USA probably within an hour. I'm on the southern border here of Canada, but I don't have my passport. I left the city that I come from without bringing my passport because I didn't think of it. I don't know. I wasn't thinking I would go into the States, but once I got out here, I thought it might be neat to go down into the States and travel east back to my town and come up through the Niagara Falls bridge that comes from the States into Canada, and then drive through Toronto to come up north again. But I can't do that because I don't have my passport. It's just one of those snap decisions to make this trip out west. I'm all alone. I'm driving in my car, and I got an oil change done today in another city in BC called Cranbrook. And the reason I went there is because there was literally no other garage up north in Golden, BC, where I was, including Banff and Canmore. There was no other garage that could do the job because they're booked solid, and they're booked for the next 3 to 4 weeks because there's not enough mechanics up there, and there's a lot of people needing work done on the Trans-Canada Highway. So I said, well, where can I go to get my oil changed? And they said, probably your best bet is to go to Cranbrook, which is about an hour and a half to 2 hours south of Golden, BC. So that's what I did, and because I was due for an oil change for sure before making my way back east. And another interesting thing too is when you're traveling the Trans-Canadian Highway, in the Ontario section of it, it's all like mostly single lanes, like 2 lanes, one going one way, one going the other way. And it takes a long time. I think it took about 20 hours to get from where I live to the Manitoba border. Just to get out of Ontario, it took 20 hours of driving time, including an overnight. Mountains up there. And so, yeah, and you're kind of going through Wawa and so what's the town's called? There's a Marathon, Thunder Bay, and you're going up and down, and through all, over the hills and down and up again and whatever. And it just takes a long time to get out of Ontario. I didn't know that. Like, extraordinary long time. But once you get to Manitoba, which is the next province over, it's 2-lane divided highway straight across the province into Saskatchewan, across the whole province of Saskatchewan into Alberta, which is also 2-lane divided highway all the way into British Columbia. So you cross those 4 provinces on a 2-lane divided highway, and you're just cruising. There's hardly any turns. It's straight for the most part, and it's flat. So you're just cruising on cruise control. 2-lane divided. So it's very, very easy driving compared to the Ontario section. There's a dog sticking out of that window there. And yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, so the Ontario part is actually quite more aggressive style driving, and long time going up and down. It takes a long time to get out of there. But once you get to the plains or the prairies, it's a straight shot across, 2-lane divided highway all the way to the west coast. I crossed like 3 provinces in, well, not quite 3, but almost in one day. Well, maybe it was 2 days. It was 2 days, and it took me a day and a half to get out of Ontario alone. There's a big difference, and I was starting to wonder why Ontario hasn't invested in a 2-lane divided highway that shoots straight across the province, because I think it's the only one that doesn't have it. So it doesn't really make much sense, because if you're going from the west to the east, or from the east to the west, you have to drive through these little towns like Coniston and Wanapitei on these little highways, and that's our Trans-Canadian Highway in that section of it. So you would think that they would invest more in well, I gotta make sure I don't miss my turn off here. They would invest more in the west to east of the Ontario. But anyhow, I'm not a political person, but once you make the trip, you start to see that it doesn't, it's just not, it's not as well thought out or planned out as the other provinces, where they have this straight shot across. You just put it on cruise control, and it's pretty neat. It's amazing. I haven't driven out west ever, but I did go out west, but we flew there, took an airplane there. So what else? So now we're in Alberta, as you've just seen. And I was trying to share pictures with friends and family of this trip, because some of them have not been out here, and they never will come out here. So I was trying to do that, but I think a video is actually a lot more insightful, and you get a better idea of what it's like. I was actually born in Alberta, Edmonton, Alberta. So, and I never went back there. I still haven't gone back, actually, because I intended on going up there, but it's way up north in Alberta, and it's October 23rd today. It's getting cold, and I didn't want to go that far north, so I didn't go back to Edmonton. Maybe some other time. Gas prices are They fluctuated between probably close to $1.10 all the way to $1.50 a liter on the drive, depending on how far north you are. I find up north it's more expensive, and in the south it's less expensive for the gas. My friend of mine, who has been my coach through this, told me to. She advised me, because she has taken this trip probably 20 times or more. She said, don't let your gas tank get less than 3/4 to half, but between half and 3/4, fill it up. Just keep filling it up, because there's large stretches of road where there's no gas stations, so you don't want to get stuck with that. There's there was gas cans on the side of the road. I seen a few of them. So it does happen to people where they run out of gas, and you think, oh well, I got half a tank, but it's not enough. You got to keep filling it up. Keep filling it up. I've probably filled my tank 15 times. I have the receipts for most of them. Probably gassed up 15 to 20 times at this point. And I just drove out west. Now I'm making my way back, so I'm going to gas up another 15 to 20 times on the way back. Another interesting thing I just remembered is I've seen probably 8 or 10 cars on this, like in the ditches and up against the rock cliffs, that cars that went off the road and they were condemned and just left there. They were left there, and they had like the police tape wrapped around them, like the yellow police tape. I've seen a surprising number of those way back in Ontario, and all across the board. You'll see like a truck that was blown up, I guess, and burnt, but the frame is there, and then other cars in the ditches that were just left. They were just left there, and probably like 10 different cars, trucks, all over the place. So these roads are quite challenging at times, because there's like a cliff or a drop on the right hand side of the road, like right after the paved shoulder. There's a drop, like a cliff there, and that sometimes there's not even a guardrail, so you don't even have to. If you spill some coffee on yourself, and oops, and then all of a sudden you just went off the road there, and I wasn't expecting to see that many cars that were abandoned, that had been for one reason or another just left there. Because what are you going to do? Tow back a wrecked car? If a car's wrecked, you're going to tow it all the way back to where you come from, or are you just going to leave it there? Because it might cost you a couple of $1,000s to tow it, and it's wrecked. So yeah, I guess that's the reason for that. Very interesting trip though, and I've always been one to say that look at that big mountain there, beautiful mountain. Look at that. We'll see what the road sign says. Lundbrick. I might have missed my turn because I was making a video. I have to pay attention here because I don't have my GPS on. So, what else is there? It's going to be dark soon. And, oh, yes, I wanted to mention about so after you go through, last night I went to Banff yesterday, and then I decided to drive west from Banff. So you go through Lake Louise and all the way into BC, but right before you hit the BC border on that Trans-Canada, There's like probably one of the biggest hills in the world. I was driving downhill for just about an hour. Like, I mean serious downhill. Like hardcore. For about an hour. All the way down. And there was even a spot at the top of the hill where they tell, there's a spot where the truckers have to stop to test their brakes out. It's a brake testing spot with all the flashing lights and everything. And halfway down the mountain, there's a runaway road. So if the truck's coming down the mountain and his brakes are not working, there's actually a road for the trucker to take. It says runaway road, and they go down that road, and they I couldn't see because it was really dark. I didn't get to see any of the mountains or anything. It was pitch black, but I knew I was surrounded by the mountains all the way. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see them because it was nighttime. But the runaway road sign was lit up, and the road was lit up kind of like an airplane runway. So the trucks, if they're coming down and their brakes are not working, they turn off of the main road, which is a hill, and they go onto this runaway road, which is probably like padded. There's probably thick padding on there, and they have to eventually stop their truck. So that's all for now. I'm going to make sure that I'm on the right road here because I'm not even certain. I think I might have missed my turn. Thanks for watching.